Hi, I'm Cecil Reynolds, and I've been asked to comment on the validity and use of rating scales in the course of the pandemic and kind of where we all are now with the back and forth with virtual schooling, homeschooling, and being back in the classroom. And the first thing that we want to do is think about the fact that first and foremost, validity is a characteristic of the interpretation of test scores. So rating scales and their norms are neither valid nor invalid at any given time. The question is, how do we interpret the scores? And should our interpretations change at different times or with different cases? I talk about this as contextual validity. And several years ago, I wrote a paper about contextual validity for one of the clinical psychology journals. And I would argue that here again, it comes down to context. Test scores answer questions about people. That's all they do. If your questions can be answered by a teacher rating scale completed now, whether a student's been engaged in remote learning or they're back in the classroom or they're in a hybrid model, then use it. It really is a contextual decision. If you're more concerned about long-standing behavior, then find a teacher from last year or even previous to that who can commit to knowing the child well and recalling the child well and use that teacher's ratings. And I promise you, if that student was really a behavior problem and an issue in that classroom, teachers will remember. But also be sure that you get parent ratings and get a self-report and take a detailed history and do a thorough clinical interview. Then you will know how to interpret all the data you have now gathered, and you'll be equipped to do it one child at a time. A one size fits all approach to assessment, diagnosis, and intervention did not work pre pandemic, and it really doesn't work now. You are just as wrong if you say never use teacher ratings under current conditions as you are if you say it's always okay to use them. Ask yourself first, what do I need to know about this child? What questions am I trying to answer? And what is the best data-based approach to answering those questions and gathering that information? You will never be perfect at this, by the way. None of us are, me included. But you can be excellent at it. But you can only be excellent at it one child at a time. So while there's no simple answer to these questions, this is a model or process you can apply to be as successful and helpful as possible to all the children with whom you come into contact. So thanks for listening. I hope this was helpful.